What does the public need to know in general about Florida's fishing regulations?
Well, as a member of the Fisheries Subcommittee, which is part of the Natural Resources Committee, I think that people need to understand that there's a real war going on right now. There is a very sinister effort out there to cut off the fisheries, to shrink our seasons, and to really use bad data and bad research to really create the fear that our fisheries are dwindling. And in no area that is being done is really more so than with the red snapper. So red snapper is a huge fishery that is important to the citizens of Florida's 2nd Congressional District. We're out there on the Gulf, and we know the truth about the red snapper fishery. And to say that it's overfished is really they undermine their credibility, because all you have to do is go offshore. You can't get your hook to the bottom.
Do you think that this has anything to do with Agenda 21 and the effort to centrally determine environmental regulations?
Absolutely. Sure. I mean, if you look at the president's oceans policy, which is born out of the UN, it is their effort to literally conquer, 80% of the world's mass. I really believe that there is an effort by Director Lachenko of NOAA. It's very clear. She is a huge advocate of catch shares, wanting to push those down upon boat captains for charter boats as well as recreational fishermen. There's an element of the commercial fishermen that have advocated for catch shares. If they push catch shares on the recreational fishermen and they eliminate the take that recreational fishermen have a God-given right to, then they're going to have more. They own the catch shares.
Okay.
So the recreational fishermen will have to buy their right to fish. And that's exactly what we find this element doing. They're coming in, trying to steal a God-given right to a natural resource from the American people, giving it to those who own catch shares, thus putting a value on it, and allowing them to create a trade. So it's capping our ability to fish, it is capping the amount of fish, and then it is creating a system where those fish are traded.
What's the likelihood that if the Republicans also get the Senate in November, that this would be scaled back, these regulations?
Well, unfortunately, it was under the Bush administration that a lot of these policies began to seep in. I'm trying to educate everyone I can of this real threat to freedom. And that includes members of the Republican conference.
Do you feel like Florida in particular is being singled out in this area?
No. This is an effort that is all over the United States. They don't want just part of our lives. They want all of our lives. They don't just want one body of water. They want all the bodies of water. They want all the rivers. They want all the streams. They want they want it all. They want all the lakes, all the ponds. They even want the ground that the rain falls on, and they call it point source. They always create a problem. They create a problem after they have first created solutions to the problem. So it is solutions that are looking for a problem. It's picking and choosing winners, and they do it in Detroit, they do it in their foreign policy, and now they are picking and choosing winners in our oceans.
Has there been any effort in Congress as of yet to combat the fishing regulations, or is that going to have to wait until?
No, absolutely. I mean, we are working very diligently and very hard at pushing to amend Magnuson-Stevens. Now, Magnuson-Stevens is the law that governs the fisheries. And there is some dates and requirements in Magnuson-Stevens that really puts downward pressure on our coastal communities, because they are forced, according to that law, to implement annual catch limits on fisheries that we don't have any data on. We would rather run the risk of crushing communities, crushing small businesses, crushing families who have been fishing for generations, crushing jobs, crushing everything that is positive about our coastal communities by implementing annual catch limits on fisheries that we have no data on. Congressman Barney Frank, Congressman Pallone from New Jersey, Senator John Kerry, usually individuals that I differ from on just about every issue. There is great consensus and great agreement that what this administration is doing through NOAA, through Mrs. Lachenko, through the Gulf councils and the other councils around the country, their efforts are wrong. This is a #1 destination for people that want to go out and exercise their God-given right to fish. So we've got to realize that if we shut down the fisheries, not only does it affect the boat captains and affect the individual rights of us as citizens, but it also affects tackle shops. It also affects bait shops. It also affects marinas and the income that comes in through marinas. It also affects hotels. It also affects restaurants, that when those fishermen who are down here at night go out to restaurants, and it affects them. It also affects as far as our boat manufacturers.
What does the public need to know about fishing regulations?
Well, they just need to, if they're going to be fishing in salt water, they just about need to be watch the regulations on a daily basis on the web, because the way the federal government has everything so messed up, they change pretty regularly. Between the federal government and the environmentalists that are out there trying to eliminate fishing, you don't know what you can keep, what you can't. Red snapper is, I guess, the classic example in the Gulf of Mexico that you could probably catch a red snapper in this basin right here, which has never been done before, but they're so abundant. But the federal government and environmentalists claim that they're not abundant enough for people to catch, so they restrict us. This year the season's going to be the shortest ever at 40 days.
What do you think are the motives of the people who are trying to restrict the access to fisheries?
A lot of it has to do with groups like the Environmental Defense Fund. They've got this kick that they call catch shares, which is privatization of a public resource. The Environmental Defense Fund has infiltrated the National Marine Fisheries Service. The head of NOAA, Dr. Jane Lachenko, is ex-vice president of the Environmental Defense Fund.
Could you talk about effects that the regulations have had on fishermen and the economy in this area?
Oh, it's harmed it. It's fishing is a big thing here. It used to be with red snapper. We prior to 2000 we had a year-round season. In 2000 we went to a 6-month season. Now in 2012 we're going to be down to 40 days. Next year it'll probably be about 24 days. It's tough for people to make it. You've got to diversify everything that you do now in fishing. You just don't fish anymore. You do a host of things on the water to keep people coming to your boat. Some people have switched from fishing in the federal zone to smaller boats, and so they fish in state waters because the state agencies are far better at managing the fishery resources. They're a lot more reasonable in how they create their seasons and try to manage the resources.
Some fishermen that I talked to didn't actually want to go on the record because they were afraid of possibly being targeted by NOAA or the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission. Do you think that's a valid concern?
I'm concerned about it. I'm actively involved in a lot of fishery management panels and whatnot for the National Marine Fisheries Service as an advisor. If they don't want me on that panel, then so be it. I've been on these panels for over 20 years, and I'm to the point now to where they can't shoot me. So you got to say what you got to say. But a lot of people are concerned because of the federal government. They will take reprisals against you. The environmental groups, they will target you and they will try to harm you.
Do you think that these restrictions have anything to do with Agenda 21 and the effort to centralize global environmental regulations out of the UN?
Oh, that's clearly it. The fishing regulations and the problems we have with fishing are nothing compared to what the National Ocean Policy is going to do, and Congress has been totally left out of this mix. And for the past 5-6 years or so, there was a bill in Congress. It was H.R. 21. They called it Oceans 21. And they never could get it through Congress. And as we speak, Congress is currently trying to get together hearing because nobody knows where the funding is coming from to keep the National Ocean Policy working. You've got a National Ocean Policy Council. They're talking about creating 9 regional planning bodies, which will be only state and federal government people. There won't be any fishermen involved in these things. So we don't have a voice here.